George Foreman grill. To what extent has it changed your life?
Well, I'd really gotten popular on Madison Avenue. We'd done Doritos, McDonald's, and Meineke. Every commercial there was, we made a lot of money. People would pay you a lot of money to do a commercial. But then after a period of time, Kentucky Fried, they move on to someone else. And finally, a friend of mine said, George, you're making all these other companies wealthy. Why don't you get your own product? I said, sure, how much are you gonna pay me? I said, no. We're not gonna pay you. Get your own product. And we looked around and found this grill, not in this current form. And we formed a joint venture together.
And how did you go about even finding it, though?
I told them, they said, why don't you they said, let's look around for something. Sam Perlmutter and Henry Holmes, a few other guys. We started looking for a great product. And we found one. No one wanted to be bothered with it at all, this thing. You know, no, they had names for it, jokes for it. But I took it and they said, try that. And I didn't want to use it, but my wife insisted. She said, it works, George. And the grease really rolled off and it's still tender. I ate it. I said, boy, let's do it. We formed a joint venture, which means I'd have the lion's share, but I'd have to make it prominent. I'd have to go out and promote it. And I did without money. Nobody put up any money for me to do it. And that's how the joint venture came about. It was a guy by the name of Henry Holmes who comes up with a joint venture idea.
At what point did you know you were on to something?
I did the agreement. The thing worked so well, and I said, give me 16 of the grills. I'll give one to my mom, my aunt, my cousin, and put them into my training camps. And that's all I thought would happen because they worked so well. I never expected it to be so successful. I got a check once for like $1,500. I said, what? Couldn't believe it.
Really?
Then I got another check for $15,000. And then all of a sudden the checks just started rolling in. This thing sold over 100 million.
Right, and to give the check some context too, you end up being bought out, I think, for something like $140 million after what you had already made. Is it true? I mean, at one point, checks were coming in for upwards of like $4 million monthly?
$5 million.
$5 million monthly, but before the $140 million buyout.
Before. I'd fought my last boxing match in Atlantic City, and everyone said, you were robbed. You were robbed, George. They were booing the fight, and there, my attorney had brought me a check for $1 million royalty on the grill. I said, that's not what we call being robbed. In my day, when you were robbed, you didn't have anything.
How did the money that you made from the grill, and it almost seems a stupid question to ask, but how did the money you made from the grill compare to what you made during your boxing career?
People ask me to compare the money I made in the grill and the money I made in the boxing, and you really can't because they're tied into one. Without boxing, I never could have had anything, nothing. I think I'm real thankful for being an athlete and have a chance to compete in sports, because without that, I never would have done anything.
How would you explain the importance of being a good salesperson?
And when I left boxing, I was so sad because I concentrated all those years, and I needed to make a living. But I'd go out on the street corners and I'd try to sell Jesus Christ. And most of the time, people were going somewhere and coming somewhere, and they didn't want to hear. And I said, I'm going to sell this product. And I learned to sing. I'd jump and dance on the street, and they would pay attention. I learned to sell, and I realized if I could sell myself to being the heavyweight champ of the world, I can sell anything if it's trustworthy. And that's what I'm most happy about. And I am a natural salesman. That's what I do. Salesperson galore, that's me.
Anybody knows anything about George Foreman? Y'all see this nice, happy, gregarious, elderly man? He was an angry savage when he was boxing. Like, go back and watch his footage from the 60s and the 70s. George Foreman is probably one of the scariest people of all time. This is what happens when you make $5 million a month for leasing out your name. I'm gonna break down the whole deal with the George Foreman grill and how we can learn from this and how we can apply it to our own businesses as well. Stay locked in.
My ducks, my swans, welcome to the pond.
My name is Dorian from Group82Music.com, and right here, we got George Foreman talking about the grill that made him an extremely rich man. Let's go through the history of this grill. This grill, I'm gonna just call it the grill for now. The concept of it was made by Michael Boheme of Batavia, Illinois. He had the concept like a lot of us have $1 million ideas, but he wasn't an engineer. So what he did is when he got one of his homeboys, Bob Johnson, in order to create the actual grill. They sent it to a lot of companies and nobody was really biting on it. But there was one company that said, you know what, we're gonna give y'all a chance. That company was Salt and Ink. They saw the grill, it was flat at the time, it didn't really lean. They were looking at like, you know what? I like what y'all doing with the double size to cook it. We gonna call it the Fajita Express. So that's how they market it, as a chicken fajita grill to the American public in the early to mid 90s. And nobody wanted no damn Fajita Express grill. It did terribly. But they didn't give up on it. And there were people at Salton that was like, you know what? This has an opportunity to do something pretty good. Let's make a few modifications, because that's what you gotta do in business. You gotta adapt. So they lifted it. And when they lifted the grill, it allowed everything that came off of the meat to go down to a little reservoir, so it really reduced the amount of calories and fat that was inside the meat. Now, they understood that this grill needed to be attached to something that was already popular. This grill needed to be attached to a brand. This grill needed to be attached to an influencer. So they were reaching out to a bunch of people and they sent samples to George Foreman. George Foreman tried it. His wife tried it. He said he didn't know about it. His wife tried it again and was like, George, you really should look into this. And she cooked him some of his meat that he liked on there, and it was still juicy, it was still flavorful, yet all of the bad was dripping down to the reservoir. So he was like, you know what, this might be something, tell them I want to do the deal. At this time, this is 1994. There weren't any social media platforms. If you had a consumer product like that, the only way to really get it out there was through infomercials. So George Foreman started popping up on a lot of infomercials with the lean, mean, fat reducing machine. It was a George Foreman grill, and that thing took off. Like, when I tell you this grill was everywhere, like it was everywhere, no matter what store you went to, no matter whose house you was in. You even asked people like, yo, y'all ain't got no George Foreman grill? It is one of the best consumer products of all time. When George Foreman brokered the deal with Salton, he really wasn't trying to get the equity stake like he talked about, but they told him, listen, we can't really pay you up front, we can give you a percentage of the revenue. So he brokered a deal where he got 40% of the profits of every single grill that was sold. He was making about $4.5 to $5 million a month in royalties for a grill that he didn't create, that he didn't come up with, that he didn't think with, that he just went on TV and helped market and helped push. George Foreman was making so much money from this grill that Salton was like, hey man, listen, it's 1999. We've been doing this for 5 years. You've made us a lot of money. We've made you a lot of money. How much would it take to actually buy you out so we can continue to use your name on the product, but we keep that 40% so we can invest in the other stuff? And George Foreman told him $138 million. That's exactly what he got. So he got bought out for $138 million for a product he didn't even invent. Now, what can you learn from this? Number one, this is why you build a brand. I've been telling y'all this for years now. Y'all see what I'm doing. All the content I'm putting out, making all these videos, my ducks, my swans, welcome to the pond. You see we doing stuff. We got Group 82 University on the horizon. We still got Group 82 Media. We still got Group 82 Music. We got other stuff that's going to be under Group 82. Group 82 is going to be its entire umbrella of services, because we're going to have a brand, and our brand is continuing to build and become more and more prevalent. Y'all know when you're looking on Instagram or you're looking on YouTube and eventually TikTok, that when you see that black, you see that blue, know it's Group 82. And when you do that, that makes people want to partner with you, because they know you have an audience that respects you, that trusts you, and that will buy from you. That's exactly what George Foreman did here. That's the first thing. The second thing that I want y'all to take away from this is you ain't got to be first. This wasn't the first grill that was on a countertop. This wasn't the first grill that you can use to grill meat inside the house. Hell, the grill that George Foreman was promoting is not the Fajita Express. You don't have to be first. You got to be the best. You got to execute the best, which is exactly what they did here with George Foreman, where he decided to actually try the product. It was something that he believed in. He was like, you know what? I don't care what other competition is out here. This is something that's really good that I believe in and people gonna rock with. The final thing that I want y'all to take away from George Foreman making $5 million a month from grills is that you're not gonna make majority of your money where you think you're gonna make majority of your money. I thought I was gonna make majority of my money in music. That's what I thought. I'm gonna go platinum. I'm gonna have streams. I'm gonna get the sales. We're gonna go on tour. It's gonna be lit. I'm gonna set Nap on fire. I'm gonna set the whole country on fire. It didn't work like that. It's not working like that. Doesn't work like that for anybody. So when you see Jay-Z, you see 50 Cent, you see Dr. Dre, you see Beyonce, you see all these people who have legendary classic music. They make majority of their money outside of music. George Foreman's one of the greatest boxers of all time. He made majority of his money on a grill. You use your passion to build your brand. You hold your passion close to you. You make it your sacred place. You don't really pimp it out like that. Yes, I get money from my music, but I'm never chasing a sound or I'm never doing anything just for money when I'm making music. George Foreman was never boxing just for money. Maybe towards the end of his career, but definitely not when he was trying to beat Muhammad Ali. But this was a business deal. George Foreman didn't love grills. George Foreman saw a smart product that can make him a lot of money, and that's exactly what it did. And that's exactly what you see I'm doing here at Group 82. Even though I do love Group 82, and we only go into arenas where I'm interested in and I have a passion, because I'm usually the catalyst that's leading us here at Group 82 in any new endeavor. Well, usually I am. You still have to understand that this is a business decision. It comes down to money. Some of y'all trying to get rich in music, trying to get rich as a fitness influencer, as a producer. You can make money from that, but don't be so closed-minded to think you are only one thing, especially once you get a brand and especially once you get fans, because no matter how big the company is, whether it's Sultan who wants to sell the Fajita Express or whether it's Clubhouse is trying to get $1 billion valuation, which they end up getting because they're a new social media unicorn. They need influencers and people with brands and people that know how to market to their audience in order to move their product. This is why I say post every day. This is why I say make videos for Instagram and YouTube every single day. Y'all ask me how I have so much energy. This is why. Because I know that this is very important. All these videos that I'm making right now and I don't feel like doing today on Saturday at 5:25 p.m. I'd rather be in the gym lifting. I know this is an investment into my career. Because 10 years from now, I'm going to be real happy I did this George Foreman video instead of going to lift when I could do that a little bit later, because I know eventually it's going to push the brand forward and make me some more money. If you're somebody that's super serious about pushing your brand forward and making some more money, if you on Instagram, go ahead, click that link up top. You on YouTube, click that link in the box. Mouth the pond. Y'all stay true.
Scared money don't make no money. Y'all don't hear that. I don't know if I'ma make it, but I swear I gotta try that. I gotta try that. Group82music.com.